Hi, my name is John, and I will be going over Algebra 2, Common Core by Pearson. Chapter 4, Section 5 is called Quadratic Equations. So before we start, let's go over some properties called the zero, CPP for short, zero product property. So what does a zero product property say? Well, it says that if A times B equals 0, then A has to equal 0 or B has to equal 0. Product means answer to a multiplication problem. So when two things are multiplied and equals 0, one of the things or the factor must be equal to 0. It could be either A or B, or it could actually be both. It doesn't really matter because once you pick one or the other, it could be both as well. So let's do an example. First example, x minus 2 times x plus 3 is equal to 0. That's your first example right over here. What we do is we set, since this is being multiplied by this factor, x minus 2 is being multiplied by x plus 3, we set the first factor, x minus 2 equal to 0, or we set x plus 3 equal to 0. Solving for x, so x equals 2, or x equals negative 3. And that's your answer right over there. Let's see if this makes sense or not. When we plug in 2 for x, 2 minus 2 is 0, times 2 plus 3 is 5. So 0 times 5 is 0. So anything times 0 is 0. Let's plug in negative 3. Negative 3 minus 2 is negative 5, times negative 3 plus 3 is 0. So anything times 0 is 0. The zero product property holds. Okay. Let's try another example. Let's try something like this now. Example 2. What do you have here? Like x squared is equal to negative x plus 6. Well, what kind of equation is this? We know that this is quadratic in nature. How do we know that this is quadratic in nature? Because of that 2 right there. The highest power is 2. Or they sometimes call it the degree. The degree is 2. It's natural for you to solve for x here, but there's also an x on the left side, x squared to be more specific, and negative x on the right side. So we don't want it to equal both sides. So let's add x to the left side. Okay. So we're going to move that term over by adding x. You undo with x squared plus x equals 6 now. At this stage, you cannot solve for x because one is being squared, one is linear. So we move the 6 over here. X squared plus x minus 6 equal to 0. You notice that we set it equal to 0, not equal to a coefficient or constant. Okay. Here we can factor. Step 1, equal to 0. It's an equation this time. Step 2, x and x. Step 3, the minus tells you that both the signs are going to be 1 plus, 1 minus. And the factors of 6 is 1 times 6, 2 times 3. It's probably going to be 2 and 3. Where goes the 2 and the 3? 3 goes here, 2 goes here. Make sure you go x squared minus 2x plus 3x is plus x. There it is. And then minus 6. Oh, now we're back to here, aren't we? It's the same equation. I just set it up a little bit differently this time. Okay. So let's try another example. Example 3. You have something like x squared minus x equals 3 this time. What do we do at this stage? The first thing we're going to do is since it's quadratic in nature, degree is 2. We're going to move the 3 over to the left side. How are you going to move the 3? Subtract 3. There it is. We notice that, can we factor that? Let's try it. X and x. This minus tells you this minus tells you that they're one's minus, one's plus. Factors of 3 is 3 and 1. Ooh, nothing there. You can put the 3 and the 1. So this has to be like a 2x. It's not. So not factorable, unfortunately. So How does the book want us to do it? They want us to do it using a calculator. Okay, so we go to y equals button. Oh, we got to turn it off first. That kind of helps. Y equals x squared. Here's your x. Square that. Minus x. And then minus 3. You want to set it equal to 0. Okay, so there it is right there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to graph it out. It's kind of like really small right here. I'm going to zoom it in a little bit. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go into Windows. I'm going to go from -5 to 5 on my x coordinate, -5 to 5 on my y coordinate. Notice that -5 to +5, -5 to +5. One of my roots is going to be here. This is called your roots, or this is going to be your root right over there. It's going to be one positive root, one negative root. What I'm going to try to do is figure out what that root is, and this calculator is going to show me how. I'm going to calculate the second, and then blue, calculate. I want the zeros, right, which is 2. I'm going to go to the left of my first root on the left, right over there. Go to the left of it, press enter. I go to the right of it. So one's going to be negative in my y direction. One's going to be positive in my y direction. And between those two intervals, I'm going to press it, and it's going to say the x value is approximately 2.30 when y is equal to 0. Oh, that's why we call it the zeros. To the left, I'm going to show you a different way. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go calculate the 0, which is number 2. Instead of using my arrow key, it's going to be between the interval of -2, -3. Do you see that? So I'm just going to go -2 to the left, bound, and then -1 on my right bound. And so it's going to hit between -2 and -1. And I know that there's a root here. That's what they mean by the root. The zeros or the roots. And it's going to say approximately -1.30 when y equals 0. Those are your two roots. Okay? Or the zeros. I think that's the only things that I'm going to do on chapter 4. I'm sorry, section 4 of section 5 of chapter 4 on quadratic equations. If you have any questions, please send me a text or send me some information on my YouTube video. Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.